Hello, I'm Trip Rogers, and this is Trip's Take. Last week, I told you the season finale, or the series finale of Blue Bloods was airing. Watched it, very satisfying. It ended the way it should, with a family dinner. Tom Selleck gets some points in my book before as he finally ended a series on the right note. I still say one of the worst series finales was ever was Magnum PI, and I will die on that hill. But he gained some points, and Blue Bloods, very good series. Paramount Plus, you can find it, and you could watch all the episodes of it. It was 14 seasons. It was really a good show, and really an excellent drama. Speaking of Paramount Plus, there's a new series with Billy Bob Thornton and John Hamm. It's called Landman, and it's really, really good, about the oil industry. And Ali Larter's in it too, and she's awesome. I've liked her since the days she was starring on or guest starring on The Rookie, and I was kind of hoping she'd come back there, but now I'm sorry, the character she was romancing is married, so that's not going to happen. So she's not going to come back, but she's on that show again. Something you want to watch. We're now in this void for the holidays, and the series will not pick up until the end of January. But again, I look forward to Will Trent. I look forward to The Rookie coming back. Survivor will be back. The Amazing Race. I mean, I could just go on and on. The thing I want to talk about is Christmas time is nostalgia time. And one of the things that families do is you sit there and you watch stuff every year. Charlie Brown Christmas, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Frosty the Snowman. I mean, you know them all. And the movies, Elf, Polar Express, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And Sandy and I went back and watched two Bing Crosby classics. And we talked about it last week, White Christmas. And also this week we started watching and watched it all in one sitting, Holiday Inn with Fred Astaire and Danny and Bing Crosby. Got to tell you, I mean, there's nothing like the old movies. Really, there is nothing like old movies. And I will, again, The Hill I'll Die On, Casablanca, greatest movie of all time. I think that was one of the most wonderful things. And we talk about, I talk about that, but you talk about the Christmas nostalgia. The other thing about Christmas is the Christmas music. And I say this because, you know, a lot of the older Christmas songs from Bing and also Perry Como, Nat King Cole, Stephen Eady, Mitch Miller. I mean, these are great. Ray Conniff. I can't forget Ray Conniff. You know, those songs just evoke so many pleasant memories. And I know these songs are like 60, 70 years old, but still, they're nostalgic. You listen to them and they sound fresh because you only hear them once a year. But the other day, I listened to a couple of Mitch Miller songs I hadn't heard in a long time, and I'm like, oh, these are great. So, of course, I'm going to play them on WTRS. But the nostalgia for Christmas, again, you always have some fond Christmas memories. And this week I was asked by our webmaster for my radio station, Q105.3 in Savannah, to bring back some Christmas memories or what I talk about. And I said, well, the first one I'll tell you is the fact that, you know, every year after Stephanie went to bed, when, you know, Sue and I would finish with the presents, and we usually finished kind of early, we'd watch Christmas Vacation. And we've watched it, and I've watched it every Christmas Eve since. Even if it's a case if I throw it on for a few minutes and watch it the next morning because I'm tired because we've had those long days, those long nights at church, still kept the streak going. That's a Christmas tradition. The other Christmas tradition that, you know, I have to laugh about this, but I was talking about this the other day. Growing up in the 60s, if you had a Christmas tree, most people had live trees. You go to a Christmas tree lot and you pick them out. And our local Boy Scouts did it. I was a member of the troop that would do the Christmas tree, and I would have to, I go to the lot, I do that, and we would get our Christmas trees. And we did this for a number of years. Shout out to Pack 9 in West Caldwell, New Jersey from the Boy Scouts, because that was my pack. And you'd get a live Christmas tree. Well, the thing is, we wouldn't put the Christmas tree up until Christmas Eve. Well, we'd buy the tree maybe a week, 10 days before we'd bring it in. Well, we'd have to keep it alive, so we'd have to put water in the bucket and outside before we'd open the tree up, right? Well, the problem was sometimes the temperature dipped and the bucket water would freeze. And then you'd have to try to get the frozen bucket. You'd have to get the tree out of there and bring it in with the water, of course. And then, of course, you'd put it in there. And by then the tree would dry out within a week. And you'd have to then get rid of you had pine needles all over the place. And I remember one year we would always put our tree in our family room, which was located over our garage. Well, one year we got the bright idea, the tree had opened up, it was so big, and it was dried out, so there were hardly any needles on it. And we got the bright idea, hey, let's just toss it out the front window onto the driveway, and we can drag it down to the curb. Oh yeah, okay, we did that. There's only one problem. Putting it through the window, most of the needles came off in the house. But the tree fell on the driveway, and again, more needles, whatever needles were left, fell off of it. We drag it out to the curb. Next day, there's a snowstorm, and basically there was snow, ice. The pine needles never got off the driveway until April, when we finally had a warm stretch, and the pine needles still on the driveway in April. Can you believe that? Was so funny? It was just one of those timing things. But I remember that from Christmas. We'd always decorate the tree on Christmas Eve, and we would, at Christmas. I mean, it was great. The other great story I remember from when I was young, Christmas story. I had a paper route, and for a couple of years, I delivered papers for the Star Ledger, and the Star Ledger had a Christmas paper, so I would have to deliver them. So I would get up in the morning. My sister and I would get up in the morning, and we would go downstairs. Now, we weren't allowed to go into our family room where we had our presents, but we go downstairs, and we would go and do the newspaper delivery and then wait for my mom to get up. My mom was a procrastinator, so she stayed up late wrapping gifts on Christmas night and would do that every single year. But we would go out, we deliver the newspapers in the morning, and I have to say, one of my favorite memories is I went to one house, and there were a couple of, and I know that the family had a couple of young kids, and I was delivering the paper, and I could hear them shouting with glee, Santa Claus was here, blah, blah, blah. And the epilogue of this story is, I delivered papers to him for a couple of years. My mother knew who it was, and he worked for the Port Authority as an engineer. And he had retired, but came back to the Port Authority. And on 9/11, he was in the North Tower at the time that the planes hit. And they said they were going to stay put. And then finally they made the decision to start walking down. He never made it out as the building came down. And it was funny because his son reached out to me on Facebook a couple years ago. Because he said, "Are you the Trip Rogers who lived in West Caldwell?" And I said, "Yep." And he goes, "Well, I lived on Mitchell Avenue." And I was like, "Oh my God, I remember." And those are the things you remember. And those are great Christmas memories. And that is Trip's Take for December. Well, I can't believe it. December 19th, as we get under the 1 week mark for Christmas. Comments and questions, tripstake@gmail.com. Don't forget, the Fantasy Sultans still working hard. We're up to week 15. It's 16 in the NFL, and it's the semifinal weeks for most fantasy football leagues. You need some guidance. The Hall of Famer Mike Sheck and yours truly, Trip Rogers, will give it to you. The other part of this, though, it's Fantasy Festivus. So we'll air our fantasy grievances. Again, you can find that on Spotify for podcasters and YouTube. Just search Fantasy Sultans. Like the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, listen to WTRSradio.com. I thank you for joining me, and I wish you and yours a very happy holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I think we cover everything, because that by the next time I'm here, we will not, we'll have missed out, and we will have Hanukkah. That'll be next week. I don't have any Hanukkah stories, I don't think, because I didn't celebrate Hanukkah. Well, my best friend did, so I kind of knew about Hanukkah. Anyhow, I thank you. I'm Trip Rogers. Make it a great one.